Welcome to Samsara Sagas, where timeless stories of ancient Indian wisdom come alive, one tale at a time. Vishwamitra's final sacrifice. Today, we delve into a tale that predates the Ramayana, focusing on the man who would eventually train Lord Ram. This is the story of Vishwamitra, the most powerful king who ever lived, whose greatest enemy was not another sovereign, but a spiritual title he was forbidden to hold. Vishwamitra ruled with an iron fist and a Kshatriya heart, his power absolute. One day, while leading his armies through the forest, he arrived at a tranquil clearing, the ashram of Sage Vashistha. Vashistha was everything Vishwamitra was not: soft-spoken, unadorned, and born into the highest spiritual class as a Brahmin. He possessed no army, no crown or weapon, save for the ultimate spiritual power. Vashistha, with the effortless grace of a true sage, wished to honor the king. He simply commanded his mythical cow Kamadhenu to produce a feast. In a moment, the cow, the fulfiller of all wishes, conjured a banquet vast enough to feed Vishwamitra's entire army. The king, accustomed to seizing wealth, watched his soldiers eat the finest food they had ever tasted. He realized that this spiritual power, the ability to manifest anything from nothing, far surpassed the temporal power of his sword and kingdom. It was in that moment that Vishwamitra's kingly ambition transformed into a ferocious, dangerous spiritual hunger. The king stood before the sage. "I am the sovereign ruler of this land. The cow is the greatest treasure. I will pay you 1,000 elephants, 10,000 chariots, but the cow is mine." Vashistha smiled. "O king, the cow is not an object to be possessed. She is a spiritual aid to my penance. She isn't for sale." The king's rage, born of a life of never hearing no, erupted. He ordered his army to seize the cow. What followed was a collision between royal power and spiritual force. When Vishwamitra's massive army tried to drag the cow away, Vashistha merely focused his mind. From Kamadhenu's power, thousands of fierce warriors arose, Rakshasas, Pallavas, Yavanas, who, in a flash of divine retribution, decimated the entire force. Humiliation was the fiercest fire. Vishwamitra stood alone, his kingdom's might shattered by the silent command of a simple sage. He cried out a terrible vow. "If a Brahmin can defeat a Kshatriya with power born of penance, then I will no longer be King Vishwamitra. I will become the greatest Brahmarishi or die trying." He abandoned his crown, his family, and his earthly identity. The king had begun his relentless, violent campaign against his own destiny. Vishwamitra began decades of intense tapasya. His goal was not self-realization, but a title, an acknowledgement from the one man who had humiliated him, Vashistha. He achieved feats no mortal had ever dared. He mastered celestial weapons, becoming a Rajarishi. Yet, when Vashistha heard the news, he simply smiled and said, "He's a good Rajarishi, but not a Brahmarishi." This refusal by Vashistha only fueled his rage. Once his anger was so powerful it threatened to burn down all the worlds. Another time, he exhausted his penance to create a parallel universe for Trishanku, defying the gods. Every time he used his power out of pride or revenge, his spiritual energy was depleted, forcing him to restart his tapasya. His life became a repeating cycle: penance leading to power, power leading to pride, pride leading to rage, rage leading to ruin. Finally, after exhausting every spiritual weapon and every remaining scrap of his royal ego, Vishwamitra performed one last grueling penance. It was so vast and demanding that the heavens trembled, and the gods, fearing the magnitude of his power, sent celestial beings to tempt him. But Vishwamitra stood firm. He achieved the highest level of silence, a state of perfect inner peace. When the penance was complete, he stood before Vashistha's hermitage one final time. But this time, he carried no hatred, pride, or demand. He simply folded his hands and quietly bowed his head, acknowledging the sage's spiritual superiority. In that very instant, Vashistha's heart melted. The sage rushed forward and embraced Vishwamitra, tears streaming down his face. "Arise, O Brahmarishi," Vashistha proclaimed. Vishwamitra was shocked. "But why now, O sage? Why do you finally grant me the title?" Vashistha replied, "Because today you did not seek my approval. You came with an empty heart and no demand for power. The moment you stopped striving to be a Brahmarishi, you became one. I did not grant you the title, your own purity of effort did." This saga is a blueprint for every modern struggle. Yet, what profound lessons did Vishwamitra earn at the moment of his final sacrifice? Effort triumphs. The lesson is that effort is supreme. Vishwamitra proved that spiritual realization is available to anyone willing to sacrifice their ego, regardless of birth or destiny. Never let the limitations placed on you by the world, your background, or your circumstance dictate the limits of your potential. Vishwamitra's power was broken by Vashistha, but his penance was repeatedly broken by his own ego and rage. The ultimate spiritual battle is always internal. The true measure of our growth is not how much power we acquire, but how much control we gain over our own reactive emotions. Pure surrender. The final step to achieving the highest goal was not a heroic action, but an act of complete surrender and humility before the rival. When you pursue a goal with pure, selfless intent, the universe will ultimately grant it, but only once you've released your personal attachment to the outcome. This was Vishwamitra's final sacrifice, a tale from Samsara Sagas, where ancient Indian stories whisper timeless truths to modern souls. While the story ends here, the journey continues within you.